Welcome back to the Community Review on Hot 92.3. I'm Josefa Salinas, your host. Over the years that you have heard me broadcasting across the airwaves in Los Angeles for 24 years now, everyone knows that I'm a fighter for parents. There are times when I fight for fathers' rights. There are times when I fight for mothers' rights. And one of the people that have been along on this ride with me is with me today. I asked him to come here today because I trust his ability to look at a situation and kind of give me a fair assessment of what's going on in a situation. And that would be Glenn Sachs, columnist, a national columnist, a fighter for the rights of parents for decades now. Glenn, thanks for being with me. And you and I have actually disagreed many times on the air together, but we always find a happy place in the middle.
I can't remember ever disagreeing with you, Josefa. Can't remember ever disagreeing with you.
But we always find a happy place in the middle because we all know that each story is unique. There can't be a blanket way to look at anything. Every story has two sides, and that's what we're here to talk about today because, Glenn, we've got a situation here that was brought to my attention about a gentleman here from the Southland who is in a situation that he feels is very unfair, and so I thought it was only appropriate that if he's going to tell his side, we have the opposing side's attorney on the phone. Mr. Daxter is with us. Good morning, Mr. Daxter.
Good morning. How are you?
I am really, really well. Absolutely fabulous this morning. And thank you for being willing to come on and hear your side, because I think it's very important in issues like this that both sides be able to tell their opinion of what the situation is. And Glenn is my middle person here because to me, Glenn is an expert in these areas, and so I look to Glenn to be able to find a nice even balance here in the middle. So Lionel and Glenn and Mr. Daxter, all welcome to the show this morning. Now, before we go further, I want everyone to know that this is an edited version of the entire conversation. The entire conversation was much longer than this, and there were some parts that I didn't feel should have been on a Sunday morning program. So you can find it all on my channel on Facebook.com/Josefa Salinas. The entire interview is there. So here are the highlights of what I thought was the most important part of this interview. What we're talking about here is a situation where there are two people who were married and who have decided they do not want to be married anymore, and many things have ensued that we often find ourselves in relationship situations where emotions are involved. Things happen, especially when there's kids and there's property. Lots of things happen. So, Evan, why don't you tell in a brief few minutes what your situation is from your perspective?
Okay, my situation from the beginning is that I was falsely accused of domestic violence. I was at home sleeping. I had taken my children to school. My 3-year-old was with me. I went home to take a nap before I start the day out with her because I was their primary caretaker. I was awakened by police officers in my house, 7 of them, guns drawn, on full felony alert. I had no idea why they were in my home. There was never, in my mind, a reason for them to be there, never an incident or anything for the police to be in my house. They never told me what happened. They arrested me, tried to take me out in front of my neighbors in my underwear. I was constantly asking them why they were here. They didn't read me my rights. They finally allowed me to put on pants. They took me to one station, set me there for about an hour. Nobody talked to me, just set me in a glass room. Nobody told me what was going on. They finally take me to Van Nuys station, and then at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, they finally come up with, we're going to charge you with domestic abuse. And I said, what? I had no idea because I had never abused anybody. I'm not a criminal. I've never committed a crime, never been charged with a crime. I didn't know what a restraining order was. Finally found out that it restrains you from seeing your children. It restrains you from your own home.
Okay, so what happened that day?
Rights.
Were you charged with anything?
I was never charged with anything.
Was a restraining order filed against you by your, I guess at this point you and your wife are estranged? You're not together?
We have been estranged, yes. There was a restraining order filed in civil court. There were never any charges. District attorney never accepted anything, threw everything out. City attorney threw everything out. In fact, the city attorney said this is ridiculous, and she said if anyone has any more issues with this, to have them contact me because I find it ridiculous. Those were her words.
And I did read the police report that said there were no visible injuries on the individual.
No photos, no evidence taken, no nothing.
Okay. All right. So you were never charged.
Never
but
charged.
But there was a restraining order placed against you.
Civil restraining order, yes.
Okay, so that's that issue. Now there's an issue of, I guess, the home where your estranged wife continued to live. You were no longer allowed to live there, but she lived there, and despite having a job, did not pay the mortgage.
Did not pay the mortgage.
Wait a second. That's kind of not true.
Okay, well,
we
you know what,
we need to roll back a little bit.
Okay,
Mr.
Mr. Daxter,
points.
Mr. Daxter, I'm going to let you go over your side, and we're going to let him tell his side first. Then you're going to be able to rebut anything, and then the two of you can talk back and forth. So
That's
quickly,
fine.
if you could, Evan, please tell me the situation with the house.
Situation with the house was I was asked to leave December 2011. I left. I obeyed the restraining order, even though I was the primary caretaker of my children. I didn't know what a restraining order did. So I left, and I haven't been back. I hadn't gone back because I was obeying the restraining order. I find out in October of last year, 2013, that she had abandoned the property.
How did you find this out?
I went to the property to get some things. And when I went, I called the police, because I had a restraining order, so they have to escort you to pick up some things.
Right.
And when we went there, that's when I found out she was moving.
She was moving or had already moved?
She was moving. She was actually in the process of moving.
Okay.
And so, I guess that's just the way the universe works. I wanted to pick up some things. She didn't want to allow me to pick up some things.
Okay. At what point did you find out that the mortgage hadn't been paid in 2 years?
Once I talked to Wells Fargo, I found out the mortgage had not been paid in 2 years.
At any point, did Wells Fargo verify that she had moved from the property?
They did. They verified it. They sent me a letter verifying that the home was vacant and that she did not live there.
Did they consider it abandoned? Because I think they go to look to see if anyone's living in the house, and if no one's there, then the bank, just based on my knowledge of repossessions and foreclosures, that if there's no one living in the house, the bank then verifies that it is abandoned. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And did they verify that the house was abandoned?
They did.
It says here from Wells Fargo that they completed their inspection December 12th and the property was deemed vacant.
Property was deemed vacant on December 12th, meaning that there was nothing there. And so since you are the person on the loan,
yes,
you're the one responsible for it, you began discussions with them about how to bring the house, how to save the house. Is that correct?
How to save the house.
One of the things that I like about this situation right now, usually we only get to hear the side of the story of the person who feels victimized, but we actually have the attorney on the phone. So, Mr. Daxter, now if you would like to tell your side, and then maybe we can have a little discussion.
All right. Well, Mr. Lionel has a history of not being credible. And this is the problem.
If we could just stick to the facts.
The problem is that he slammed Mrs. Lionel's head into the concrete. The Commissioner Padilla, found that Mr. Lionel, after 2 full days of trial, had committed domestic violence based on the medical reports. The police reports are hearsay and had no effect. The police actually missed what the tech had noted in the medical report. And the tech's medical report was admissible evidence of the fact that Mr. Lionel had beaten Mrs. Lionel. A restraining order issued, which included a move-out order for him never to return to the house in the next 5 years.
Never to return to the house or never to return where she lived?
Never to return to the property. In any event, Mr. Lionel did not give any support, financial support, to Mrs. Lionel or for any of the children. In any event, he received 2 emails in August of 2013 asking him to cooperate because the house is upside down about $150,000 and the redemption payment is about $40,000. And Mrs. Lionel, who now is employed again, was trying to modify the loan.
Okay, well, did she or did she not make an attempt to modify the house?
She couldn't because Mr. Lionel's on the loan, and he would not sign the modification papers.
Yeah, if Wells Fargo was going to do something, it probably would have to have both of their...
Okay.
That's true, but
well,
may I respond to that?
You gave Mr. Lionel some time.
Yes, go ahead. And please, let's just stick to the facts and not any extras. So go ahead.
Facts are that Mr. Lionel did not see his children.
No, let's go. You've already established that.
No.
You're to
we
the
haven't
point.
gone yet.
Yes, we have.
Mr. Lionel did not see there was a hearing in April, which limited his visitation time because of his violent actions, not only in the court papers, but in front of the judge. He tried to get the judge removed because he didn't like her ruling and didn't realize he didn't have
How does that
evidence to
constitute
support
violent
his claims.
action?
And he tried to recuse the judge on 2 occasions, and he was denied. He then stormed out of the courtroom at a hearing in October because he didn't like the fact that the court was going to rule against him. He then went in the hallway and conducted a tirade, calling me and my client demons.
Okay, this
But
is,
where,
again...
where was the violence?
The violence was his yelling and screaming at the judge.
And I didn't get
interrupting the
arrested?
judge, and then going out in the hallway and threatening my client and me, and
threatening?
also kicking at me when I tried to serve him papers.
Threatening, but you said all he did was call you demons.
Then,
No, he also, when I tried to serve him papers on 2 occasions, including 12/31 of 2013, he would kick out at me in an attacking mode when I had to serve the papers by leaving them at the bottom of the floor in front of the elevator at the Van Nuys Courthouse.
Okay, does your client live at the property or doesn't she?
She still lives at the property, technically.
Okay, but not physically.
That's not relevant. There's a stay-away order from him. The heart of the problem is the restraining order says that he is to move out and not return for 5 years. He found out about the move because he interrogated the children who were excited about moving from the house.
I think the move is pretty clearly written in some court papers, if I'm...
Right, but he found out about the move before that.
Oh, okay.
And he was surveilling my client in violation of the restraining orders. There's a 100-yard restraining order, stay-away order.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Lionel parked 150 feet away or 150 yards away to try to avoid the restraining. But the fact was he was sitting in his car waiting for my client to come home to her property, and that occurred in October.
Okay, go ahead, Glenn. You have some questions?
I mean, obviously, your version and his version are very, very different, and the facts contradict, or the factual claims contradict on a number of things. But just on this issue of, he was arrested, Mr. Lionel says that he was arrested, charged, and then the charges were dropped. Are you saying, and then you mentioned a 2-day trial, so you're saying there was a criminal trial, he was convicted in a criminal trial, appealed it, and then his conviction was upheld on appeal?
No, he was convicted in a family law, civil, domestic violence trial.
Are you talking about a restraining order? Are you talking about a restraining order here?
On February 8th and February 10th in front of Commissioner Padilla. She let him do whatever he wanted to do. Most TV hearings are usually an hour to 2 hours in length. We were there for over 16 hours, including going over the court's afternoon time on the 10th, and he was found to have committed domestic violence based on the medical reports.
Now this was the
injuries I discussed.
This was the restraining order hearing.
This is domestic violence restraining order, correct?
So this was not a criminal trial?
No, because it was a he said, she said situation, and with a he said, she said situation, the city attorney doesn't go forward and prosecute.
Right. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that we made that very clear that this was a restraining order hearing, not a trial where he was tried and convicted.
And I think it's also important to note that I've sat in on some of these restraining order hearings. The evidence standard is very, very low. Preponderance of the evidence, 51 to 49. These things are routinely passed and rubber stamped by the court.
And sometimes for very good reason to protect the woman.
Sometimes correctly, sometimes incorrectly. Mm-hmm. So do you have a copy of this medical report that says that he inflicted this severe injury? Because I've looked at the police report. The police report has no sign of any kind of injury. It just says she's complaining of pain, but there's no evidence of any kind of injury, any kind of assault at all.
Well, the police report first is hearsay and is not reliable as
well, how is it hearsay? That's what she's told the police.
Police fill out what they think they're told, and police don't like to fill out reports.
All right, but you really haven't
public opinion.
You really haven't provided any evidence that he committed domestic violence. I mean, here's a guy that's has this restraining order against him, kicked out of his house, cut out of his kids' lives. His kids are put on the restraining order. And I don't see, where is your evidence that he committed this domestic violence? I'm not saying it's not possible that he committed it, but I'm not seeing any evidence.
We have the testimony of the wife coupled with the medical reports.
So we have he said, she said, the medical report, that doesn't show that he committed domestic violence
Well,
against
actually,
her.
it does.
She could have
If you
banged
look
her
at
head
the
in any one of a
standard
number of
for
ways.
domestic violence cases, that standard was met.
The evidence
Okay,
for
appellate
domestic
court
violence
agreed.
cases
You know,
is very low.
the important thing that I want to bring out here is that the allegation that he was tried in court and convicted of domestic violence is not true. He was never charged. This was a restraining order case. So that is where the truth lies in that. We're going to move on now. I'd like to move on to the situation of the house.
But we can move on. But I must say this. Josefa. First of all, when he talks about medical history or medical evidence, she never went to a hospital and got anything. She went to a place called HealthWorks, and a PA saw her. She was never seen by a doctor.
Okay.
And she went a day after, and the same police that wrote the report was at that. They were at that PA's place, and that's the PA's name at the bottom. And if Mr. Datsker says she was at a hospital, what was the doctor who treated her, Mr. Datsker?
Mr. Lionel, I don't have the file. And the fact is, you were convicted
What was the doctor's
in a
name?
civil court, and that is already history.
What we've got is he said, she said.
My goal is to get to a solution.
I've been trying to do that for 2 years.
The solution, because my concern, because I am a supervised child visitation monitor,
Here's police reports of me not getting visits with my children.
My concern is the children, okay? And if there are certain things that the court would like you to do so that you can see your children, would you be willing to follow anything that the court recommends?
I follow them all, Josefa.
That the court recommends.
I follow them all. The court said I am to decide in the court order, and I will show you that as well. It says clearly I'm to decide the pickup and drop off for the children. The court order clearly states that in bold lettering. I am to decide, the father. And so there shouldn't be a discrepancy of Devonshire and Mission Hills, which are both great places. Mission Hills is a new police station, by the way.
Okay, all right. Okay, let's
so it shouldn't be a discrepancy.
Okay.
The court order clearly states that.
Question for you. If there were some other conditions that the court would like you to go through in order to have more visitation with your children, would you be willing to do it?
Yes, and I've already shown that. They already stated in the new orders that if I get visitation, supervised visitation for 6 weeks straight, then we can remove the supervised visitation. Mr. Datsker and his client are trying to stop that. But I've complied with the court orders. They are the ones not complying. I have discovered that Mr. Datsker, everything
please stop. Please stop.
He's doing.
All right, please stop. So what we need to do is to get a supervised visitation monitor in place that can make sure that you can see your children and that she follows the court order just like you are going to follow the court order so that you can see your children.
More than happy to do that.
Mr.
The
Datsker?
problem, though, is, Josefa, is that Mr. Lionel did not comply with the court order. The court order was issued on
I'm talking
the 12th
about
of
moving
December.
forward.
Please, and he did not see his children. He had the ability to see his children the first weekend after that court order was issued.
We're talking about moving forward.
I sent him an email on 12/16 asking him to set it up, and he did not.
Okay, Mr.
That
Daxter.
denied the children a visitation before Christmas.
We are talking about how to have a solution moving forward, not regurgitating what has happened. My goal in what I want to do is the best interest of the children, and that would be how to establish moving forward from this point them seeing their father, and that would be with both sides complying with the order as it exists with a supervised child visitation monitor.
May I add something here?
Yes, Glenn, please.
Look, some of the facts that you're saying, Mr. Daxter, I don't know whether, when they contradict what Mr. Lionel's saying, I don't know whether what you're saying is true or whether what he's saying is true. But I'm seeing some red flags here. Whenever you start talking about, what he supposedly said to one of the kids, some horrible thing that he supposedly said about replacing the son, that the son doesn't want to see him, those are red flags for me. When I see stuff like that, usually what's happening is that the custodial parent is manipulating the mind or trying to turn the child against the non-custodial parent. There aren't that many kids that don't want to see both their parents. Almost all kids, they want to see both of their parents.
I have nothing to hide. I've asked over and over again of the courts. Mr. Datsker has worked very hard to stop me from getting minors counseling and stop me from getting a professional evaluator who will be able to talk to my children and see and hear the truth. That is what I want, and I want my children to always know how much I love them, and I will not stop wanting to be in their lives. I will never go away.
Ask Mr. Lionel whether he has taken the batterer's class that he was ordered to take in 2012.
The answer is no. I've never taken any batterer's class because I've never battered anyone. And the class would be a constant reminder of the wrong that you guys have done and the lies that you have told on me. I will never admit to something I never did.
But taking the class is not admitting to anything.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't.
Then she should take it as well.
Oh,
I've
think
never harmed her. I've never harmed her.
Just speaking on the batterer's classes, I have mixed emotions on this. I think on one hand, Mr. Daxter's correct that Mr. Lionel was ordered to take the batterer's classes and should have done it just to try to put this whole nightmare behind him. But on the other hand, I understand how Mr. Lionel feels too. I mean, we're not seeing really anything in the way of evidence that he battered his wife, and then he's got to go sit there in a batterer's class and be treated like a criminal. So Mr. Daxter, I could see your side on that, but I could also see why Mr. Lionel would not want to be involved in anything like that.
Okay, bottom line, let's get to this, because this is me being who I am here. Everybody, is very obviously very passionate and very worked up on this. The best outcome for me is to find a solution so that these children can get back seeing their parents, seeing their father.
You know what I think happened here? What I think happened here is that Marion, she had her career, and Evan was the primary caregiver for the kids. And then Marion wanted to end the relationship with Mr. Lionel. And maybe she had every reason in the world. I'm not talking about violence, but maybe she had every reason in the world for wanting to end the relationship. And she was looking at a position where, and I've seen this many times, situation where, she might lose custody. He might get custody of the children because he was the primary caregiver, and she might have even had to pay child support to him because he was the primary caregiver. So instead, she launches this whole DV thing, seizes control of the children, seizes control of the family assets, drives him to the margins of his children's lives based on, I've been listening to you for 45 minutes. I still haven't heard anything that tells me there's a reason why this guy, any solid evidence as to why this gentleman can't see his kids. You show me some solid evidence and I'll say, okay, he's a batterer, you're right, he shouldn't see the kids, or the wife needs protection. I don't see it.
Okay, my only concern, really, it doesn't matter to me why
go ahead.
It does not matter to me why neither one of them want to be with each other, what they did to each other, none of that. What matters to me, is
a scenario that's 100% wrong.
Okay, what matters to me is how we can, moving forward, get these supervised child visitations going so that this man and his children can start rebuilding a healthy relationship moving forward.
Mr. Lionel has already had one visitation last Saturday. He can have another one if we get a monitor this Saturday, but he's got to find a monitor. That's not my client's position, number one. Number two is Mr. Lionel has to stop being violent. He's got to stop being threatening to me, threatening to my clients.
Well, I don't even know why you guys even talk to. There should be no reason why you guys should even talk to each other.
There's a presumption that violence is not in the best interest of the children, and you know that.
Well, of course.
Right.
But I don't even see
there were violence.
This is one of the things that I absolutely just irritates me, and that is when people constantly go backwards in a conversation. We are moving forward in this conversation.
So the truth
not
doesn't
what
matter,
happened.
Josefa?
No, what I'm trying to get to is how we move forward, getting Mr. Lionel and supervised. Now, I am a child supervision monitor. He would not be able to speak badly to children. If I have a court order in front of me, as soon as I see the court order not being complied with, that visitation is over.
Well,
so
he
that
doesn't
is
like that. We had a monitor who did that, and he fired her in April.
Okay, again,
I've never fired any monitor.
Okay, all right,
so
please.
That's another lie.
I'm only talking about moving forward.
All right. So look. I think what we need to do is figure out going forward. And Mr. Daxter, I would like if you could just do this. Every time we say something, you have some other piece of mud that you want to sling at this guy. And I'm not
Sir,
saying
it's not mud, it's the truth.
I'm
You
not
haven't
saying
been in
that
on this
I'm
case
not
for
saying
2
that you're
years.
100%
You
wrong
make
and he's 100%
presumptions and
right.
assumptions
Okay, go
that
ahead,
are
Glenn.
100% wrong.
Okay, go ahead, Glenn.
And that's why it's
Glenn,
not mud.
Glenn, moving forward.
This should not be that difficult to arrange these visits. All the guy is trying to get is a few hours supervised visitation every week. I mean, the guy should have joint custody of his kids. He's just trying to get
He's
something
violent.
very, very. Yeah, I know. Yeah, he yelled at you. I know. He's awful. He yelled at you. I've been listening to you for 45 minutes and I'm ready to hang myself. I can see why he'd yell at you, but that's another matter. This should not be that difficult. There's a court order. It should not be that difficult to have this visitation going forward. If he complies, will she bring, if he finds the monitor, will she bring the children to the supervised visitation place at the proper time? Will your client do that?
As she has in the past, of course.
Okay, great. Good.
But he has to find a monitor. And
Okay,
the monitor has to be fully aware of all the situations. You see,
the monitor
domestic
gets
violence and abuse.
Yes, the monitor gets a copy.
continues on.
The monitor gets a copy of the court order. She gets a copy of the restraining order, and she follows those. He or she would follow those to the T, because the only thing that the supervised child monitor, his one goal, is the protection and safety of the children, not either parent.
Can you get a monitor that'll be acceptable within the next
I'm doing
week
everything
and a
within
half?
my power. The last monitor, I called 3-4 times, haven't heard back from her. I've called the owner of this
There are a lot of
agency.
monitors, right?
There's monitors everywhere.
Okay,
Yes.
so he should be able to find a monitor. If he finds a monitor, Mr. Daxter, you're saying that your client will bring the children, as per the court order, to the monitor at 12 o'clock on the appropriate Saturday.
well,
that she will
actually,
bring.
if you read the order, it's from 10 to 1.
Well, okay.
Whatever. I
To be
thought I
exact.
saw 12 o'clock in
All
there
right.
somewhere. But
According to
your
the
client
order.
will do that.
Of course, my client has complied and continues to comply with the court
Okay,
orders.
very good. My goal is to try to get this moving forward so that he can see his children. I will give you some resources that I know of for child visitation monitors. My goal is to get you that you pick a monitor, that monitor gets you in a situation where you can start seeing your children on a regular basis. Whether or not child support is being paid is not the issue right now. The issue is, for me, you being able to see your children and establish a healthy relationship with your children. And if it has to be with supervised visits, then so be it until the court decides something else.
Amen.
Absolutely.
Thank you for being with us. My goal in all of this, and I hope that we've gotten to that point, was simply to make sure that a situation was set up where Evan could begin participating in his children's lives, and that would be through supervised child visitation until the court deems otherwise. He will work very hard to find a visitation monitor and begin moving forward to replace himself back in his children's lives where he belongs.
We will see.
Well, he stated
No. You're going to do everything you can to get these supervised visits going so that you can see here.
I want to say
Okay.
to the public, I've always been doing everything I can to see my children, and this gentleman has done everything
no
he
more
can to
conjecture.
stop it.
No more.
I love
Evan.
my children. I want to see them. I will always be their father. I will always be here for them, and no one will ever run me away like I see many fathers out there running away
A lot of fathers
because of
do.
the courts
You're right.
and because of the situations. I want to say to those fathers, you must stand up and be there for your children. They need you. If there is someone who is stopping their children from seeing a parent, shame on you. You
Okay,
are hurting your
Evan.
children more than anything.
Evan, you will.
I love my children, and I
Evan.
will be here for them always.
Evan, you will comply with the court order, find a court.
I always have complied with the
please,
court order.
Please, can you just follow my conversation here?
Yes.
You will follow the court order. You will find a supervised child visitation monitor, and you
Yes,
will
I
follow
will.
the rules as set up
I
by
always
the court.
have.
Okay, that's all I'm asking, and that was my goal, that we get to that point so that you can begin seeing your children again. And I'm
Mr.
glad
Daxter
that we are
says
all
that
here.
he and his client will cooperate,
Will cooperate
with that, with the
and
new
comply.
monitor.
So, yay. We have found a middle ground on, to me, what is the most important thing. And that's not Mr. Daxter's feelings or the woman's feelings or Evan's feelings. But the children.
Who are caught in the middle of this.
I am a mom, and I've seen kids caught in the middle, and I want you to be a part of your children's lives. And if that means doing it with a child supervision monitor, then that's the way it'll get done. Get back in your kids' lives. If you have to follow the court orders, then do it until you can prove to the court that you deserve more.
All right.
Great.
I think we've kind of covered everything. Thank you for the time.
Okay, thank you. Well, it was definitely not our typical interview this morning, but I thought it was so important because I've gotten so many letters from parents on both sides of the fence. Many of them fathers who don't feel like they're getting a fair shake. So I thought it was only fair that we bring both sides on for the first time ever on the Community Review at the same time so that we could hear them both. Again, remember, this was an edited interview. You can hear the entire hour-and-a-half long interview at facebook.com/Josefa Salinas. I'd also like to thank syndicated columnist Glenn Sachs for being the mediator in the middle and listening with his expert opinion on this very delicate situation. I'm Josefa Salinas. Until we get together again, stay strong, stay focused, and most of all, stay informed. I'll see you next Sunday on the Community Review, Hot 92.3. Get out there and enjoy your day. I'm headed out to do a little yard work, and that's what I call taking care of me, so make sure you take care of you.